Welcome, everybody. And here I wanted to make a big impression right off the start because your life is going to be changed by this video. It's a remake of the one I did today, but I have some added information and I feel like the timing is much better. Uh, Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. There's no doubt about it. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We're trying to prove we have your best interest at heart. So the first thing to get all the perfunctory here is the thing that you can say, go see your own doctor. Don't take my advice. I'm not trying to make any money, but not mean it, because you should listen to me about financing, the Bible, how to read the book of Revelation. But go see your doctor anyway, because otherwise they'll be so mad. All right, so we showed the thing. I don't have any pictures. I showed a video today in the first part. We don't need that. We don't need that. No, that. Now, this is the thing. We were told to hate Nickelback. Why? This guy said it was because of 9/11?
And when everyone's algorithm is different, everyone lives in their own reality span on the planet.
Go Nickelback.
Had abandoned Nickelback, wanted for crimes against music. People started to hate them, and I mean really hate them.
That bad music makes people violent. Like Nickelback makes me want to kill Nickelback.
It was a global movement against Nickelback.
They were part of cancel culture before we had a name for it.
Not because of a scandal, not because of offensive lyrics, but because they existed.
It's like if the Beatles were produced by Nickelback. It's music, but it sucks.
How did Nickelback become the most hated band on the planet? And why?
Why?
The only thing I want to hear right now is the sweet sound of this Nickelback CD cracking as I drive over it repeatedly.
Let me tell you a story. September 11th, 2001 changed everything. America went from feeling invincible to vulnerable overnight.
Today, we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center.
I don't believe that at all. I believe this was the start of the PSYOP. It's ingrained in my theology. 2001, September 11th, 45 years after that, fulfills the prophecy in Daniel. This is the most important thing, and yet it's just shunned on. These guys got to go because they wanted to be a big rock stars. They didn't want to dress like girls.
Nickel bomb? Nickel creep? It's like a meme. You know what a meme is? It's kind of just like a long-running meme.
If you're new to Nickelback memes, strap in. I tell you to play music and you play Nickelback. Friends don't let friends listen to Nickelback. This is how you recline me. I heard you like Nickelback, so I burned your house down. They say you hear the devil if you play Nickelback backwards. Even worse than that, if you play Nickelback forward, F did Nickelback ever do to anyone?
A new study with college kids by the American Psychological Association has found there's a connection between violent lyrics and aggressive behavior.
It's May 2003, and the comedy talk show Tough Crowd airs on Comedy Central. Comedian Brian Posehn is one of the guests, and out of nowhere, he says this.
No one talks about the studies that show that bad music makes people violent. Like Nickelback makes me want to kill Nickelback.
It's just a throwaway joke, nothing clever or insightful, but the network loved it.
Makes me want to kill Nickelback, kill Nickelback, kill Nickelback, kill.
They played that clip in promos for months and months, over and over. And then something interesting started to happen. That joke became reality.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are Pickleback!
Pickleback? Who are these dillweeds?
Music forums tore them apart. Every social media turned them into a cool. And I mean, effortlessly cool. They weren't supposed to try too hard. Then you had Nickelback. Chad Kroeger had bleached blonde hair that looked like it required an entire bottle of gel every morning.
Here we've got just closet space. You know, I'm just hanging some crap up.
By the way, this is the coolest freaking jacket. Look at that jacket.
Yeah.
The band wore baggy jeans and wallet chains. They looked like they shopped at the mall. They looked suburban, like guys in a bar watching sports.
Nickelback is more like trying to get people to get these in the air, you know, getting everyone to
you weren't bad enough, Nickelback. You weren't grooming the children enough. You were promoting what they wanted. Dang, it's like looking in a mirror when I was young. I had hair then.
Your constructive criticism, yes. Sometimes you're calling us out, and we see that, and we want to get better. We want to improve. And if I'm
Nickelback,
You get, the harder they want you to fall.
The music itself hadn't changed. Their style remained consistent, but the cultural position had shifted. Hating Nickelback became a signal, a way for cultural snobs to announce, I'm not like those other people.
Really?
Nickelback? You got me.
Really?
7 millions of videos, thousands of streaming shows, infinite options. And here's the crucial part. Algorithms started curating everything, specifically for you, based on what.
And this guy, the Jew taboo, this has something to do with something. And a Roman Catholic,
still operating.
Michael Jones, Dr. E. Michael Jones. He's mad they're not giving him the credit. Credit matters to him. And he's a Roman Catholic. Candace Owen is a Roman Catholic. Tucker Carlson is a Roman Catholic. Joe Kent is a Roman Catholic. The people, I think I said Thomas Massey. There's other famous people they're propping up right now. Byron Coleman. Oh, come to Mary in Rome and you'll be happy and you'll find true Christianity. Don't go to Eastern Orthodox or Mormon like Charlie Kirk was a charismatic Mormon.
You're still enforcing covert enforcement of the Jew taboo. Now, I'm glad that Mr. Cooper's agreed to come on because we can discuss this when he comes on next week. I would hope that Tucker would join us in this conversation because it's a dead serious conversation. Don't talk about running for president if you can't break the Jew taboo. The whole Republican Party is hors de combat, missing in action because they could not address the Jewish question at a crucial moment in America.
But boy, they are now. Finally, they are. And they are going to find out. It's the Epstein connection. It was Trump when the Democrats gained control because Tucker's not going to stop them. It's the economy, stupid. It's not the abortion anymore. So Republicans will have no problem, helping again, like with Ross Perot and the others when they run third party. It's always enough to put Bill Clinton in power, who never got 50% of the vote in either election.
But he's dead. We've been.
HMSM responding for testimony South Capitol Street, Southeast. 10-37-2027.
Exit 7 to communications for a call back. You have open the front door.
They got a call from somebody in another town that Lindsey Graham was.
Did Lindsey Graham's own negligence help cause his death? That's the Republican senator who died this weekend from an aortic dissection. Part of his aorta basically tore. Listen to this from CNN. Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville said one of his staffers was with Senator Lindsey Graham's scheduler Saturday evening when the late senator called the scheduler to complain of chest pains and asked her to call emergency services. Quote,
interpretation. Lindsey Graham got back from Ukraine and was going to have oral or anal intersex or the sex with another gay person, and somehow they might have poisoned him or whatever. He was going to die. The person that was with him said, call Tommy Tuberville, tell them to send somebody over. and that you'll leave the front door open and I will leave and I'll be here when they get here and it's just a heart attack. Well, it wasn't only a heart attack, it was an assassination. You have to go, Lindsey, because the Jew taboo is over and you weren't on board with it.
Lindsey called, basically said, listen, I'm having chest pains. I need to do something. Tuberville said to reporters. Tuberville said Graham's scheduler asked if he had called 911. And Graham responded, no, that's the reason I called you. By the time she got there, 911 had knocked the door.
Because Lindsey Graham can't talk. He's having a heart attack. And someone else called. I don't know if they released that phone call yet or not, but it should be interesting.
Down and they were working on the senator who died. He had a massive tear, killed him. That's the preliminary investigation. Guys, I worked in the U.S. Senate. This is so classic United States Senator and just Washington. You're having chest pains. And you're
trying to just blame it on, aren't they so eccentric? Here's part of the 911 call. It's full of gaps. It's full of cuts. They show up at the door. Well, the medicine might take a little longer. Now they got to wait to break it in, and he's in there dying, dead. Somebody locked the door.
We signed up a call back 2032.
Engine 7 o'clock.
Engine 7, the caller says she's not in the home. She says the door is unlocked. Could you guys let me know?
Deadbolt is secured.
I copy. Stand by. Communication Engine 7, the caller says, have you tried knocking at the door to see if the patient will answer?
Yes, repeatedly.
Communications Engine 7, the caller states that she's coming from Baltimore to get to your location. Would you like a truck to force entry MPD?
Huh.
Nelson Rockefeller's death was one of the biggest scandals of the 1970s, and to this day, no one truly knows how one of the most powerful men on earth actually died. Was it a heart attack or something more sinister? Everyone knows the name Rockefeller, but many today probably have no idea who Nelson was, so we'll give a quick bio and then we'll get into his very strange death. Obviously, Nelson was part of the famed Rockefeller family and inherited ridiculous wealth from his grandfather, the richest man of all time. Rockefeller's focus was politics. He used his money to fund candidates and was involved in every presidential administration from that era. He also served as governor of New York from 1959 to 1973, but by all accounts, his one obsession was becoming president of the U.S., and he ran for president 3 times. But each presidential bid was a miserable failure, and Rockefeller's lifelong ambition appeared to be over. But when Richard Nixon resigned in 1974 due to Watergate...
So what do we have here? Tricky Dick Nixon on the right, Gerald Ford on the left. Richard Nixon did not keep the same vice president in the election in 1972. He got Spiro Agnew. Spiro Agnew lasted about 6 months before they found out he had to be replaced because he was in a banking scandal. So we replaced him with old reliable Gerald Ford, an unelected vice president. Gerald Ford, as his first year in Congress, was on the Warren Commission to rubber stamp it. It is alleged that Gerald Ford became interested in politics when 2 guys knocked on his door and said, "Here is your illegal pornography. You work for us now, but you can keep the pornography." And he works for them ever since. And now Nixon resigns. So he's the president, and he appoints a Rockefeller. And within 3 months, there's 3 attempts on Gerald Ford's life. Rockefeller wants him dead. He wants to be president. And the other mafias think the Rockefellers are going too far too fast.
VP Gerald Ford became president and named Rockefeller his vice president.
I, Nelson Aldrich Rockefeller.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Nelson Rockefeller will, along with Gerald Ford, become the first team of president and vice president ever to serve this country who have not been elected by the people.
Within a year, there were 2 assassination attempts on Ford's life. The first came on September 5th,
The
1975.
first came on September 1st, 1975, by Lynette Alice Frome, known as Squeaky Frome. She was booked on his attempted killing of the president. Squeaky Frome was one of the, she fell in love with Charlie Manson and visited him in the prison. And so she was just ready to go.
The first came on September 5th, 1975. The next came barely 2 weeks later on September 22nd.
Her name is Sarah Moore. She is the second woman to be charged with attempted murder of the president in the last 17 days.
Then Ford's presidential limo was in a suspicious car crash a month after that. Had Ford lost his life in any of the 3 events, Rockefeller would have basically been handed the presidency without ever having won a national election, which is just wild to think about. A sitting U.S. president almost losing his life 3 times in the span of
And
a
Roman
month.
Catholics ready, set to take over everything. Are they really, is it the Jew solution, the Catholics, or as the September 12th, I'd already put out one video saying it's impossible for a 30-06 not to have blown his head off. So it's a lie. Whatever they're going to say after this is a lie. By the 12th, I was saying they're going to be promoting Candace Owens as the solver of this crime, exposing it. And it was already clear that Tucker, Thomas Massey, and the other Catholics, and I announced that night, this was a plan for Charlie Kirk to bring in the Noahide laws. These were all Jews. These were the most important man in Colorado for 15 years, basically given the right to make toll roads. What the toll road was basically an Indian trading path, not a war path, trading path. And he started charging people to do it because they brought their death, their smallpox, their poison, their genocides. The Mormons had a part in it, but the Mormons aren't real. They invented that the Mormons had to come up with a Joseph Smith, an Illuminati guy who added to the scripture, another gospel of Jesus Christ. Let it wash over you, because there was a tabernacle in the middle of the desert that already said Mormon LDS on it. Like they had to go to every town. They had to go to Boise because it has old world structures everywhere. They had to resettle it. Everything from Lewis and Clark is to cover up the fact that that's not the real history of when the Bible ended. That's the history of what they relived after Satan was loose. The end of Armageddon was like a World War I star fort event where it left all the star forts ruined, because there was, right before that, knowledge was increased. They had the kilns to make the better steel. Everyone armed up. Everybody was going to capture everybody else. And in the book of Revelation, when it talks about there were these 10 kings, there were that 10 kings, there were 3 tribes or 3 men that were given kingdoms that they never got to rule the land, but they were still treated as kings. It was also the time when all of Asia departed Paul, and there was a great falling away. In Asia, they had Buddha, Confucius, and in Europe, it would appear they had the golden leader, the Aurelius, and the addition to this video as opposed to the other one you can tie it in when you see this.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another video. Today we're going to be talking about Lost in Translation, and we're going to be focusing in on some of these mystery inscriptions that are linked to the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco. So should be interesting. Let's get into it. Now there's a lot of really nice older images from the Palace of Fine Arts, and the ones that we're going to be looking at today are focused in on these urns that can be found throughout the Palace of Fine Arts. And these things are actually fairly large. I believe they're over 10 feet tall, so quite large. But some of them actually have these inscriptions on them. And the ones with the inscriptions on them, I believe they're at the top of the rotunda itself. And I should mention that from top to bottom, I believe the rotunda is over 160 feet tall. So these urns that are by themselves about 10 feet tall are way up there. But some of them actually have inscriptions on them. And we're going to talk about that. And I first became aware of this phenomenon through a channel called I Am Kairos, who zoomed in on some of these, because up until that point, I had never even heard of this. So there's been a update on this phenomenon, but here are some more recent images showing these urns at the top. Now, where this story really gets started actually is probably back in 2008. There was a multi-million-dollar restoration. So everything pretty much from top to bottom was restored that was linked to the Palace of Fine Arts, including these urns. And what was noticed was that these urns had some inscriptions on them, and scholars were brought in, and
They
what
lied.
was determined is that there was this pseudo-Latin or vaguely Latin script on them, and apparently the inscriptions remained an unsolved mystery. As these linguistic scholars, they were unable to decipher or even identify the language. So that was the
These
position
people
that
from California were doing it. You know, it was 9/11. They hated Nickelback. He wants credit for being the guy that is the Jewish thing. We're dealing with things like this.
In a military building, like an old military complex that you sort of took over, and that's where you live. And I want to believe that's true because it's one of the coolest things I've ever heard. Is it true?
It is true. And thank you for bringing it up, because now even more people will come to the house to say hello. But yeah, I bought an old Air Force base. It's a former top secret Air Force base, and it has an incredible history.
Laurel
it's in the
Canyon.
Hollywood Hills. If you need my address, I'll send it to you after the show. You could come by.
Yeah. I think you mean that, actually.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it must be. I mean, what a great idea! You live in this. Are there cool steel doors that can close?
There actually are. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are former vaults in the place that are labeled like top secret access, and yeah, it's a piece of history. It's pretty.
I
Cool.
don't think I have to remind anybody about the weirdness that he's been into, because it's the UFO thing.
Ridiculous power, but that's only
You know,
part
but
of
when
the
I
story.
started it out, Sonic Indians, there are those the videos
groups that
didn't
are
work
not
in the first time.
that you really must confess.
But
it
I
because
did want to share
you're
this.
going to
Recognize you don't want to go there when it's turning that sword that's keeping people out of the Garden of Eden after that fiasco. Somebody overthrew actually turned from wood into a serpent that ate another. There's some turning going on around here. God changes people's hearts. He changes people's, and there's no other way that his called, his chosen elect could be drawn to him like water from a well. You draw water from a well, and to the people who have been born again and appreciate the analogy that they didn't know they were born the first time, it came upon them slowly and suddenly, like the things that you used to hate, now you love. The things you used to love, now you hate. Your heart's been turned, it's been changed. I hope you believe that he rose from the dead, and that you really must confess it because you believe it in your heart. Why? And see, it didn't have the Nickelback thing. So I showed the we had a national tragedy and we're going to be dealing with it the rest of the life. It's the mafias deciding what money they're going to use after they set up the United States for failure immediately after the 2028 elections is what I feel. And like the guy who's doing the Jew thing, I think you should pay attention because it is the Nickelback 9/11. It is the Jew thing. It is this, and it's really this simple. I've been keeping up with the Hurricane Lala. It's that nothing has ever changed from the very beginning, and anybody that has dabbled in short season theology and decided to put a date on it. In 2016, out of the gate, when I started Flat Earth Nation, Golden Age Past, this is what mattered. This is the only thing that mattered. Blessed is he who waits and arrives at the 1,335 days. That's all I've wanted to do. That's all I want to do. I want to be alive 45 years after this. The regular burnt offering is taken away. That's the abomination that makes desolate, not some mythical book called Maccabees where they kill some mythical person or a sacrifices a pig but then they keep using the temple. No, the abomination of desolation is there's going to be something shut up until the time of the end, not the end of the era, the end. But in the meantime, these people are going to purify themselves and make them white, be refined. The rest are going to act wickedly. From the time the regular burnt offering is taken away and the abomination that makes desolate is set up, there will be 1,290 days. Satan was in the pit for 1,000 years, leaving us 290. We don't believe this is the year 2026. They added 1,000 years. See all of the people with their added history, especially it is a Russian psyop, Dr. Fomenko, but we have 290 days. So if you take the 9/11 and you go back the 290, you arrive at 1711. And 9/11 changes everything. The United States is in the process of being exposed as the patsy, but in their history, what the wide road will believe, the ones that will be taking the future vaccine that they're going to kill you for because you don't want no part of it, they're all going to believe that story. They're all going to believe it. That because the vaccine. It's because the vaccine. But the 9/11, what money are they going to use? The petrodollar is going away. They're going to be exposed. The Rockefellers are going to be exposed. It's going to take a Noahide law thing. But 45 years after 9/11 will be the year 2046. After 2028, things will really get shaky. The money won't be worth anything. Now, in 2038, I hadn't planned on bringing this up, but enough of the Jews in the Old West. What was I going to look up? Unix epoch. Doesn't that sound crazy? I know. Don't tell me that you think it's going to be another, 2001 Y2K type of a thing. It's a real thing. And it started on January 1st, 1970, when they programmed the computer with Ogham. They had to pick a language, so they picked an old pagan language called Ogham, but they didn't do it right. So they set the time for the new computers, although computers weren't really a thing. It's what the internet uses. They think they're all going to be able to fix it. The International Atomic Time will have no problem. But in 2038, their underground world will stop working. All of these plans, all of the men and the women who have the optic cables to bring light into their caves, and they're going to run this and that. They're going to simulate, look out that window, and it'll look like they're looking in space or something. It's going away. That's 2038. The end is 2036. They're going to come out of their caves looking for food because it's going to spoil underground. They won't have any light. They'll burn the fuel for generators. They're going to have to come up and say, are there any survivors? Let's go see how they live. Let's get their food. The next 19 and a half years, 20 years, are going to be only progressively worse. If you have anything to do with the mindset of you're staying in the city and are counting on your 401k, your Roth IRA, or your vested programs, they're not going to be there. You're not going to be a happy person with a jet ski in the garage that you never use. You're going to be unable to get money out of the bank. You're going to be like everybody else. Your four-wheel drive won't work anymore. If you even own it, they'll be able to smell food from a half mile away. They'll be cooking and eating children. This is the end. Now, the scripture is clear. Mud, flood, Armageddon was the worst time in history. That was the worst judgment on a wicked and despised generation. But we're not in for a picnic either. You're going to be running for your life. The plan has always been, God will show me the place. It's the San Juan Mountains. We're going to find places where they ran to the first time and hid in the hills. They're everywhere on the world. You find them. You go there. Those tunnels are still there. You live in them. You hide in them. You do not draw a line in the sand. You have trained scouts that are as qualified as any military people, except they don't kill people. They only come back and tell people like me, they're within 15, 20 miles and they're getting closer. We have to leave because you can't fight the robot dogs. You have to worry about leaving an infrared footprint. Because why? Why are you doing all this running and running and running? Because blessed are those who make the last 45. Someone has to be around to take care of the old people and the needy. Why were the Elohim judged in Psalm 82? They didn't take care of the weak and the needy. They helped their friends get ahead. Christ would have none of it. They will die like men for that. And they did. And you know it, and I know it. That's why Flat Earth Nation, Golden Age Past changed theology and biology because the stones are reserved in judgment. And all they would have had to do is think, I wish I would have listened to Noah. And that the gold, silver, and the precious stones are in their veins. It's in our veins. It's in our arteries. It's in our heart. You will carry no treasure with you to heaven. it will be in your heart. The gold, silver, and precious stone that the Apostle Paul tells us you build up by doing good works that Christ has planned before the foundation of the world, that you will walk in them, because God is a tester. He rewards those who diligently seek him, and you are allowed heaven if you are a son who served him. The prodigal son was not going to make it unless he returned. This is a work, and it's based on your soil and your seed and where he placed you. You may be 30, 60, or 90, or even if you're 100-fold. You can't go to God and said, well, you're letting him in and he only produced 30. You're 100-fold. You don't produce 100-fold, you don't make it. You don't maximize your talent and diligently search Christ, you're going to be blotted out of the book of Christ. That's not the attitude. The attitude is, I want to do 110%. I want to do more today than I did yesterday. Because being born again is that analogy I was alluding to. You didn't know when you were first born. You figured it out. There was a time when you were watching your fingers move, knowing that you did it, but you don't know how. When you're born again, it takes a long time before you're driven to the knees, realizing that Christ rose from the dead. Only God can give you that thought. And once you have it, you can't let it go. You believe it with your heart, you'll confess it with your mouth, or you're not one of those people. You haven't really experienced it. That's the way things are and will be. Because this is a flat earth nation. The millennium is over. We're finally reading the book of Revelation, right? And the wide road wants you to say, no, you have to stay with the Trinity. Rome was right about that part. That's why they would cut you up and flay you and burn you alive if you didn't believe in the Trinity. It was for your own good. Well, I think you've heard that one before. You have an orphan-trained brain. There's been a Hegelian dialectic. You know they said they wanted you between the ages of 3 and 5. Did they have you or not? They did. There was a globe on the desk you went to school in. It's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakamain. Adios, amigos. That's how I like to say goodbye from the border of southern Colorado and New Mexico, where that Zorro Ranch is, and that fits in somewhere. Thank you, Father.